أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا وحبيبنا وطبيب قلوبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رضي الله عنا وعنكم وعن كافة المؤمنين ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. Inshallah, we will continue reading the chapter from Ihya Ulumuddin on Sabr and Shukr. In this section, Imam Ghazali is going to talk about different types of Sabr with reference to the subject of Sabr. بيان الأسامي التي تتجدد للصبر بالإضافة إلى ما عنه الصبر. So this chapter is on the explanation of different names given to sabr with respect to what is it that you are having sabr from. What is the subject? What's the problem? You are showing endurance and forbearance. Depending on the subject of the forbearance and endurance and patience, sabr may have different names in Arabic. اعلم أن الصبر ضربان. Imam Ghazali says that there are two types of sabr. أحدهما ضرب بدني. So one type is the physical forbearance, physical endurance. And the other is as-sabr al-nafsi, mental and psychological forbearance and endurance. Okay, so now let's learn what's sabr badani, the physical forbearance, the كتحمل المشاق بالبدن والثبات عليها. So example for physical forbearance, physical endurance is enduring difficulties, challenges with your body, and والثبات عليها, and persistence about them. So this is called صبر بدني. وهو إما بالفعل كتعاطي الأعمال الشاقة من العبادات أو من غيرها، وإما بالاحتمال كالصبر على الضرب الشديد والمرض العظيم والجراحات الهائلة. So this sabr with body has two types. One about performance, actions. يعني صبر بالفعل كتعاطي الأعمال الشاقة, like performing difficult tasks. إما من العبادات أو من غيرها. So these difficult or challenging tasks may require forbearance, endurance, like performing all the ibadat, like making 5 times salat and making wudu before them, and fasting for 30 days in Ramadan. So all these things, waking up for tahajjud, these things, they are not easy things. So one requires physical forbearance, physical effort to be able to do all these things. وإما بالاحتمال, and physical forbearance or endurance sometimes require احتمال. احتمال again, forbearance كالصبر على الضرب الشديد والمرض العظيم. So this is like patience about about ضرب شديد, getting hit, in a heavily, maybe you hit something, by accident. So you have to show patience about that. والمرض العظيم, or you might have a very heavy illness. So you need physical forbearance for this as well. والجراحات الهائلة, or some scary inflammations in your body. So for all these things, you need physical forbearance because these things happen in your body, and these things are performed with your body. So there is a physical dimension, there is a bodily dimension involved in all these things. وذلك قد يكون محمودا إذا وافق الشرع. And if you endure these difficulties or performing good deeds, in accordance with religion of Islam, then this sabr is praised. This sabr is accepted as an act of worship by Allah Ta'ala, and you get rewarded for it. ولكن المحمود التام هو but although this physical endurance and forbearance is praised by Allah Ta'ala and rewarded by Allah Ta'ala, but there is another type of sabr which is praised completely by Allah Ta'ala, and this is the ad-darb al-akhar, the second type of patience, the second type of forbearance. So as I said in the beginning, there are two types of sabr, as-sabr al-badani, and then this is the second type, وهو الصبر النفسي. This is the psychological patience, psychological forbearance, psychological endurance, or mental patience, mental endurance. So nafsi, you can translate it to English either mental or psychological, but none of them is perfect translations. So better to keep it as-sabr nafsi, rather than translating them and compromising the original value. So that's why we are reading this Arabic text, so that you learn all the original concepts. And when you think, try to think with these original concepts. When you speak, try to speak with these original concepts so that you internalize them better, and then you don't lose any of the original meanings. But those who don't know these things, of course, they need translations. So this sabr nafsi is needed عن مشتهيات الطبع ومقتضيات الهوى. You need sabr nafsi, mental endurance and psychological patience against two things. مشتهيات الطبع, desires, appetites emerging from human nature. And the second type, مقتضيات الهوى, demands of hawa, unlawful desires, excessive desires. So you need as-sabr an-nafsi, mental forbearance, psychological endurance against appetites coming from human nature and demands coming from al-hawa, the baseless desires, unjustified desires of al-hawa. ثم هذا الضرب إن كان صبرا عن شهوة البطن والفرج سمي عفة. So مشتهيات الطبع الهوى, so they may be related to stomach or sexuality. So if this sabr is against the excessive desires of butn and farj, then this kind of sabr is called iffa. This kind of sabr is called iffa. You see, sabr has a particular name if it's against unlawful sexual desires and desires of the stomach. وإن كان عن احتمال مكروه اختلفت أساميه عند الناس باختلاف المكروه الذي عليه الصبر. But if this psychological forbearance is about enduring some undesirable thing or something disapproved, by religion. Makruh. Makruh has two meanings. Something like people dislike. This is the linguistic meaning of it, and the religious meaning of makruh, an action which is disapproved by religion. But in this context, I think both may apply. So if psychological patients is against some makruh, some undesirable thing, either by religion or by the person himself, اختلفت أساميه عند الناس. It has different names. باختلاف المكروه الذي عليه الصبر. Depending on this despisable thing against which you demonstrate endurance. So what is it that you are resisting against? What is it that you are showing sabr against? Depending on that issue, on that subject, sabr may have different names. Okay, so what is your sabr about? Then sabr may have different names. Okay. فإن كان في مصيبة اقتصر على اسم الصبر. So if this forbearance and endurance is against some affliction, it is called sabr, no other name. Okay. وتضاده حالة تسمى الجزع والخلع. And the opposite of enduring some affliction is al-jaza al-khala. So these are the Arabic words used as the antonyms of sabr in this context. So al-jaza means anxiety or dreadfulness, and hala means panic or scare or phobia. So not showing sabr, but showing panicking, getting scared, having like phobia about something, fearing about it, and having anxiety. So this is the opposite of sabr, the antonym of sabr. وهو إطلاق داعي الهوى. So al-jaza and hala means releasing the motivations of al-hawa ليسترسل في رفع الصوت وضرب الخدود وشق الجيوب وغيرها. And the outcome of releasing the motivation of al-hawa in such a context when one is hit by a musibat, an affliction, the outcome of this is raf' al-sawt, screaming, shouting, and wadarb al-khudud, and hitting the face, and washakul juyub, and tearing off the cloth, and also I mean, they show in like the different types of actions, like throwing something, breaking something. These are all stupid things, and they come out of not having sabr, when one is hit by musibat. So these are not the ways a Muslim behaves when he or she is hit by a musibah. A Muslim acts with sabr, not with jaza, not with hala. Muslim does not scream, does not shout, does not hit things around and hit himself or tearing off his clothing, etc. No, these are not the ways Muslims act. So we saw sabr. Okay. وإن كان في احتمال الغنى سمي ضبط النفس. So if sabr is against wealth, I mean, the temptations of wealth, the temptations of richness, because when one becomes rich or wealthy, when one has lots of money, then there are some temptations, coming out of having a lot of money. And so in that situation, you need to endure. And this is called ضبط النفس, self-control, auto-control, self-control. Okay. So sabr in that case takes the name of ضبط النفس, because you are so rich, you have lots of money, and the shaitan and your nafs, tells you to show off, make extravagant expenditures, show hubris, but you resist against these things in your mind. That's why it's called sabr nafsi, mental endurance, mental patience. In your psychology, like you resist, against these temptations coming out of wealth. That's why it's called dabtun nafs. But if you don't resist these temptations coming out of wealth and richness, then it is called al-batar. وتضاده حالة تسمى البطر. And the antonym, the opposite of dabtun nafs in case of richness is al-batar. And al-batar means showing off, with your money, showing, acting in an arrogant way because you have money, so this is called al-batar. Yes. وإن كان في حرب ومقاتلة سمي شجاعة. But if sabr is shown in a war, it is called shaja'at, courage. It's called courage, because in a war, like, you need sabr to be able to continue this fight. So this is called courage. The opposite, where yudaduhu al-jubn, and the opposite of it is al-jubn, not having courage. وإن كان في كظم الغيظ والغضب سمي حلما. So if sabr and nafsi, this psychological mental sabr, is against, anger, silencing your anger, controlling your anger, so this is called hilm. It's called hilm. Hilm means tolerance, clemency, forbearance, softness. So this is hilm. Somebody like makes something to anger you, and you may really get angry by this kind of action in reaction to it. But if you don't show anger, then this is called hilm. ويضاده التذمر. And the opposite of hilm is تذمر. Complaining or having a grudge, hatred inside your heart. So this is called تذمر. Or blaming that person, reacting in a negative way against him. So this is called التذمر. وإن كان في نائبة من نوائب الزمان مضجرة سمي سعة الصدر. So if sabr is against some problem, some calamity, then or the difficulty coming from the periods or the circumstances you are living in, this is called sa'atul sadr, large heart, big heart, having a big heart, sa'atul sadr. ويضاده الضجر والتبرم وضيق الصدر. And the opposite of not showing sabr against na'iba min nawa'ib al-zaman, not having sa'atul sadr is called ad-dajar, at-tabarrum, wadiqu sadr, narrow heart, uh, also complaint and restlessness. Dajar means restlessness, restlessness and boredom, and also tabarrum means like discontentment, complaint. So a Muslim is supposed to have sa'atul sadr, big heart. When bad things happen, he has big heart and shows patience against these things. But someone who's defeated, by his nafs or shaitan, he demonstrates a dajar, complaints. He starts complaining, and he has grudge, in his heart, and he gets bored, and his heart becomes very narrow. وإن كان في إخفاء كلام, if sabr is about keeping a secret, or something you heard from some other people, not sharing it with other people, سمي كتمان السر, is called keeping the secret, kitman al-sir, because when you are entrusted with a word, shaitan and nafs comes and tells you, tempts you to share it with other people. You need to have sabr nafsi, mental endurance, mental resistance against these temptations coming from nafs and shaitan. وَسُمِّيَ صَاحِبُهُ كَتُومًا, and this person who has a kitman al-sir, who's keeping the secrets entrusted to him by other people, he is called katum. وَإِنْ كَانَ عَنْ فُضُولِ الْعَيْشِ سُمِّيَ زُهْدًا, and sometimes you need patience, endurance against trivialities of life. There are so many trivialities in life, like entertainment, for instance, like gaming, entertainment, so many useless stuff in life, and maybe your friends, your family members, they are all involved in those things, and they tell you that they are enjoying, spending time with those things. Actually, they are killing their time. And then your nafs tells you, oh, why don't you also do the same thing? Why don't you also game? Why don't you also, spend time with this kind of entertainment? These are like trivialities of life. Fudul. Fudul means useless things. They are not useful to you and to anyone else. Just the killing time. And then today, there is an industry producing fudul al-aish, fuduliyat, and they make advertisement that these are so enjoyable. And if you don't enjoy yourself, by these fuduliyat, your life is not a good quality life. This is how they make advertisements and brainwash people, so that they come to believe that killing time with these fuzuliyat is a need, and these are good things. This is like the joy of life, and you have to get involved in those fuzuliyat, so that you become happy. See what I mean? So they want to make it part of the custom, part of the culture, to spend time and to kill time with this fuzuliyat, like this entertainment industry. But Imam Rabbani says, whoever does not abandon fuzuliyat and clean them in his life cannot make any progress in knowledge, any progress in spirituality. And actually, if you don't leave fuzuliyat, you cannot make progress in anything you are doing, because your time is precious, and you should invest it in what you are doing. If you are a student, you should invest your time in studying, and you should value your time. Why spend a few hours, by entertainment, killing your time? If you are a businessman, why spend your time with entertainment? Go and do your business, or spend time with your family. Do something good, which is useful either to you or to other people, rather than doing things which are not useful to anyone except those who sell you this entertainment make profit out of it. It's useful only to them. And no one else gets any benefit from it. But they make you believe that, oh, entertainment is very good, killing time is very good. Otherwise, you cannot be happy. And some people, they live only for this kind of fuzuliyat. This is like the purpose of their work and their life, subhanallah. So you need resistance against this fuzuliyat, because they are presented to you through advertisements in such a very attractive way. You need to resist against them, and this is called zuhd. Zuhd means contentment in the heart. وَيُضَادُّهُ الْحِرْص. The opposite of this is greediness, gluttonous, voracious, avid, piggish. Just, oh, look, everyone is doing, let me do it. How can I stay away from it? All my friends are involved. All my neighbors are doing it. Why should I stay away? So this is gluttonous. And actually, today's dominant culture is this hedonistic culture based on self-enjoyment, regardless of the benefits of the actions. So we need lots of patience today, and especially our children and young people. They need lots of resistance, lots of sabr, against the fuduliyat. May Allah help all of us, in particular our young, children, students, friends. وإن كان صبرا على قدر يسير من الحظوظ سمي قناعة. But if patience is against some little pleasure, it's called qana'at, contentment. ويضاده الشره. And the opposite of qana'at is sharah. Sharah means gluttons, voraciousness, piggishness. This is the opposite of qana'at. فأكثر أخلاق الإيمان داخل في الصبر. So Imam Ghazali makes a general observation that all actions related with Iman, they are under the category of sabr. They require some kind of sabr. ولذلك لما سئل عليه الصلاة والسلام مرة عن الإيمان قال هو الصبر. This is the reason why when Prophet Muhammad عليه الصلاة والسلام was asked, what's al-Iman? He said, as-sabr, forbearance, endurance, patience. لأنه أكثر أعماله وأعزها. Why he called Iman as-sabr? Because most of the actions under the title of Iman, require patience. So, and also it's the most important one. كما قال الحج عرفة. This is similar to his statement that Hajj is Arafah. Because in Hajj there are so many things you do, but what's the most important one? Staying in Arafah, waqfa in Arafah. So that's why he said Al-Hajj Arafah. Because this is the most important one and most difficult one. This is like the core and essence of Al-Hajj. And the same thing with Al-Iman. All actions you are doing in Islam as a Muslim, sabr is the most important one, the essence of it. وقد جمع الله تعالى أقسام ذلك وسمى الكل صبران. And Allah Ta'ala, brought together everything that's mentioned above, like all these different categories listed above: sabr against this, sabr against that, sabr against that, and the different names given to these different types of sabr. This verse brings all of them together. قال تعالى, Allah Ta'ala said, والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. والصابرين, those people with sabr, the enduring, patient people, against what? In which circumstances? في البأساء, al-musibah, when they are hit by an affliction, by a calamity, so they show sabr fil ba'sa, during afflictions, calamities. Wad-darra, al-faqr, during poverty, during times of need for something, they show sabr. وحين البأس, al-muharaba, during struggle, when they struggle against something, they show forbearance, endurance. So these three categories, al-ba'sa, al-darra, حين البأس, all these three categories involve everything against which we need sabr. We need sabr against al-musibah, and there are so many types of al-musibah, and we need sabr against al-faqr, need, because there are so many types of need, right, in life. We need to be patient when we need something and we don't have it, and struggle. Life is full of struggle. So we need sabr during struggle. Sabr against afflictions, sabr against needs, and sabr during struggles. أولئك الذين صدقوا, and Allah Ta'ala says these are the truly righteous believers. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ, and they are the truly pious and observing believers, because they have this quality of sabr in these different contexts. فَإِذَا هذه أقسام الصبر باختلاف متعلقاتها. So Imam Ghazali says that you see that there are different types of sabr depending on the subject against which one shows sabr. وَمَنْ يَأْخُذُ الْمَعَانِي, all right, من الأسامي يظن أن هذه أحوال مختلفة في ذواتها وحقائقها من حيث رأى الأسامي مختلفتان. And Imam Ghazali makes a usuli principle here. He says that those who try to understand the meaning of something simply by looking at the names attributed to it, والذي يسلك الطريق المستقيم وينظر بنور الله يلحظ المعاني أولا. So there is this group of people, they look at the names given to something, and they are trying to make sense of it. And then there are other people who adopt the right method, the right path, and they look at the thing with the light of Allah Ta'ala, with the light given to their heart with Allah, but they don't look at the names. They look at the meaning first. Why? There are two methods, and which one is correct? So one method is, discovering the meaning and then looking at the names given to it. The other method, looking at the names and then trying to discover the meaning, moving from the names. So Imam Ghazali disapproves the first method, which is looking at the names, and then when you look at those names, because they are different, you think there are different meanings. But in fact, those different meanings, they show those different names, they indicate the same meaning. So that's why First, look at the meaning, then look at the names attributed to it, and then try to understand why there are different names attributed to the same meaning. So if you look at the meaning, فَيَطَّلِعُ عَلَى حَقَائِقَهَا, and that person who first learns the meaning and then learns the truth of that meaning, ثُمَّ يُلَاحِظُ الْأَصَامِي, so then learns the names given to that meaning, فَإِنَّهَا وُضِعَتْ دَلَالَةً عَلَى الْمَعَانِي, because those names are created, are produced, are constructed by people to indicate those meanings. فَالْمَعَانِي هِيَ الْأُصُولِ. So the meanings are the foundations. Okay, meanings are the foundations. وَالْأَلْفَاظ هِيَ التَّوَابِعِ. The names, the utterances, they are followers of the meaning. Okay, the foundation, the root is the meaning. So learn the meaning. Start by learning the meaning. Then learn the names given to that meaning. And the names, actually, what Imam Ghazali says, ma'ani here, this is called concept. Concept is the meaning in the mind, you know, and alfaz is the terminology, you know, or the vocabulary used to indicate that concept in the mind. So there is ma'ani and there is alfaz. So alfaz, tawabi', ma'ani, al-usul. You see, he's a great philosopher and linguist, mashallah. ومن يطلب الأصول من التوابع لا بد وأن يزل. So if someone, you know, tries to reach to the foundation, to the roots, through the followers, inescapably he will make a mistake. Okay, there is no way for him to be away from making a mistake. وإلى الفريقين الإشارة بقوله تعالى. These two groups are mentioned or pointed out, you know, in the following verse. أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أمن يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم. You know, who is on the right path? Who is on the right path? The one, you know, who walks fallen on his face, you know, or crawling or groping on his face, you know. So if someone crawling or groping on his face, he cannot see around, right? You know, he's walking like this and looking on the earth, crawling, you know, or groping, falling on his face. Is this on the right path, or أَمَّنْ يَمْشِي سَوِيًّا, the one who walks straight, standing up, looking around, seeing around, you know, which one is on the right path? So these are two ways of walking. One doesn't see around, doesn't look forward. The other, you know, looks around and sees around. So Imam Ghazali compares these two persons with the one who looks at the names first and trying to discover the meanings, you know, based on the names, and the other one looks at the meanings, the concepts, and then, you know, learning the terminology about it. All right. فإن الكفار لم يغلطوا فيما غلطوا فيه إلا بمثل هذه الانعكاسات. And Imam Ghazali says that those disbelievers, they did not make a mistake, you know, for no other reason except for these kind of paradoxical thinking, reverse thinking, because this is like a reverse thinking in akasab, starting from the wrong side. نسأل الله حسن التوفيق بكرمه ولطفه, and we ask Allah Ta'ala to give us the best success out of His grace, out of His generosity. Jazakumullah khairan. Okay, any questions? Yes, Mark, go ahead.
Could you clarify this last point that Al-Ghazali, he encourages, he promotes to learn meanings first, then names, and not the other way. But when you say meanings, what does it mean exactly? Does it refer to the level of life, like know life, experience things, then name it and talk about it? Like how to understand this level of meanings, if this question makes sense.
Okay, good. Very good. So in philosophers deal with this issue a lot. Like there are concepts, there are meanings in our minds, and we use names to indicate those meanings. Let's say in your mind there is concept of cold, and to express that concept of cold, maybe we are using 5 words, and in Turkish maybe there are 10 words, maybe in Malaysian just 1 word, maybe no words, because there is no cold there, right? So then there is a reason why, let's say in Polish, you have like a 20 words for cold, depending on maybe the causes of the cold, people, the way they feel the cold, etc., etc. So what is the best way to start understanding the reality of things? Whether we start from the discourse, look at the words, and then use from discourse, go to the concepts and the reality they indicate, or you start from the reality and then from the reality move on to the concepts, to the terms or to the words used to express it. So what do? Like, do you try to understand what cold is and then learn the names given to colds in different cultures, or the other way around, learn the words given to the colds, and from these words used in discourse, try to understand the essence or the meaning of cold. Okay, so Ghazali says that focus on the meanings to which names are assigned by people to indicate it, to denote it, to express it. Names are secondary. Names are secondary. The primary importance should be given to the meaning, to the reality, because we have a reality and we are using names and words to express that reality. So this is what he means. So there is sabr, patience, something called sabr, patience, and people use different names to indicate sabr. But if you start first learning that meaning or that reality called sabr, then study the different names given to sabr, then you have a clarity of mind. So there is one reality and there are different names used to indicate that. But if you do the opposite, there are so many names, and then you assume all these different names, they indicate something different, some different meaning. Then you get really confused about it. You may end up thinking that there are different meanings indicated by these terms and words, although there is only one reality expressed by it. So that's this is what Imam Ghazali is trying to tell us, in this last paragraph. So focused on the concept, focused on the reality, focused on the meaning, then learn the different concepts, different words, terms used to express it. Okay, Dr. Farah.
Yes, so Hoja, just on the same point, the word that Imam Ghazali is using here is lafz, so he means term. So you keep saying names, and I'm just wondering, does this relate in any kind of way to the Quranic narrative of Adam alayhi salam being taught the names of things? Is there a difference between what's happening there and what we're talking about here?
Yes, so let me explain this using the multiplex ontological perspective. According to multiplex ontology, there is wujud fil kharij, wujud fil zihin, and wujud fil lafz, and wujud fil kitaba. So wujud fil kharij, that means existence outside of our minds. So there are things that exist outside of our minds. And then wujud fil zihin, we have concepts for these things that exist outside of our minds. So like there are trees outside, and then we have the concept of tree in our mind. So that's another level of existence, the mental existence. So there is physical existence and there is mental existence. So there are human beings outside. There are millions of them, right? But then we have a concept of human in our mind. So that's the concept. This is wujud zihni, mental existence. So we make abstractions based on our observations in the physical world. So this image that we have in mind is called concept. So there are, like, you meet thousands of human beings, and at the end you have a concept of human being, an image, a surah of human being in your mind. It does not correspond to any particular human being, but it's a general concept. You see so many trees, but at the end you have a concept of tree, the meaning of tree in your mind. That's the wujud zihni, mental existence. Then there is wujud lafzi, the linguistic existence, with utterances. Then for the meanings you have in your mind, you need words to express them, to communicate them. And you need to give names to those concepts and meanings in your mind, which is in wujud zihni, which is at the level of mental existence, but you want to communicate them to other people, then you need to use names for them. Okay, then you produce names, and sometimes you produce multiple names. Sometimes they are synonymous, sometimes there are nuances around them, among them. Like the nuances, Imam Ghazali explains, like all these dabtun nafs, qana'at, like all these things, they all mean sabr, but there are nuances among them based on the subject against which you are showing sabr. So there's a nuance. but they all means sabr. So Imam Ghazali is proposing a method. He's saying that don't look at the words, all these synonymous words and with the nuances around them. So focus on the main concept, main meaning in the mind. So if you learn that meaning, then your task will be much easier. You will not get confused about the multiplicity of the words used to indicate them. So this is what Imam Ghazali is trying to explain to us. All right. Any other questions? Okay. جزاكم الله خيرا في رعاية الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. في أمان الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Waalaikumsalam.
Take care.
Thank you very much.